Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, episode 9, Coffee Talk Recap, y'all. So, this recap is gonna be pretty fun. I enjoyed this episode. I would kind of rate it a little bit higher. I would rate it maybe 8.5. So we get into the episode with, the housewives daily scenes, and I just love seeing Danielle's family have fun, and I love to see their day-to-day quick scenes that they show us in the housewives, and I think they have the best ones thus far. And so we actually do get into the first scene, and we are at Mr. Paul's house. Okay, one thing about Dolores, her man's home is gonna be her home, and that's just what it's gonna be. So I just love how comfortable she is in that home. Like, she's in the kitchen, she's like moving around stuff, she knows everything is, and this is what it is. And I feel like, this season we're getting a lot of Paul's home. I don't think we have seen Dolores' home. I know she's doing some remodeling of her home, but all we're getting this season is a whole lot of Mr. Paul's home, okay? So I feel like we need to give his home a name. Like She by Sheree, I'm thinking Mr. Paul's Palace is a fitting name, fitting contender. So she talks to her man about the trip down at the shore. And she shares how Frank was having a difficult time with Dolores not staying over at his shore house. And, it is the first time that she is not staying over at Frank's. So I can understand how Frank can be a little bit down about that kind of situation. And he kind of feels maybe... And, I can see how Frank's mind, he kind of puts the blame on Paulie. It was like, wow, you've never really done this until you were with this man. So he's thinking maybe this man is the reason why you're switching up. And, Paulie, he's giving a lot of energy to this whole situation against Frank, given that, his ex-wife calls a lot. And Dolores said that, not him. So, Mr. Paul, I'm giving you the side eye. We got to keep our eyes on for Mr. Paul. But his home, oh my God, is so beautiful. I enjoyed all the views from it. So Paul thinks Frank may feel like he made the biggest mistake in losing Dolores. But Dolores is like, no, we passed that. It's more of a feeling that of him losing family is the situation. Not that, he missed his wife. Everyone posts on Dolores saying, Frank misses wife, Frank misses wife. But she's like, no, she puts the kebabs on that. She put the end on that. So she shares with Paulie that she's going to have lunch with Jennifer to reconcile some things. She missed her friendship with Jen, and she feels kind of sad about the situation of her having marital issues, and she wants to be there as a friend for Jen. So in the confessionals, I don't know how I feel about brunette Dolores. But what do you guys think? I think I like her blonde. She had an interview following this episode at the Bravo Clubhouse, and she was back to her regular hair color. So maybe she wasn't feeling that look. But she did say in that interview with Andy Cohen that she's on Ozempic. And I love how honest Dolores is. And upfront, like, you ask her questions, she's gonna answer it. I remember, like, even with her butt done, she says what she did, her teeth, like, she is open and honest, and I respect that, because a lot of these girls, they are not honest about the situation, and I'm like, why lie? Don't put it out there that this is attainable just by eating this or doing that. Just be real. So I respect Ms. Dolores. So we are over at Rachel's in the next scene, and she's giving a personalized backpack for her baby girl, Gigi. Of course, the backpack is bigger than the girl, bigger than Gigi. And she shares with us that she's a type A personality, and she has businesses on businesses on businesses. I'm like, okay. And she gave us like so much promo of her business. She has a tile business. She has a parking business. She has a burger business. But when we talking about food here, I got to see the food. Like, you can't just say you have a food business and not show your food. I want to see what it gives. But I heard her correct. I think I heard her correctly. She said she had a burger business. So I'm so curious about that. And hopefully she shows that more, because Rachel, I don't know if I'm feeling Rachel, okay, guys? I feel like the way Rachel is moving, I don't agree with. I do not agree with it at all. So she has a 4-month-old, a toddler, and a teenager, and she still wants more kids. I felt like maybe it's a bit too soon, and I was hoping this is not gonna be the storyline for the whole season for her. But I guess we switching gears here, and her focus is now she's bringing up how she wants to adopt Jaden, which is her teenager son, her son, but not her biological son, but she calls him her son. And John Fuda, he has sole custody of Jaden, but he says that he will still need permission from the biological mother, so they have to go to court for the adoption of Jaden by Rachel. And she is like so annoyed. She's like, ugh, I raised this kid, like, ugh. And she says Fuda even allows the biological mom to visit her kid, and she said that's her kid, without it being required by a court order. So I'm wondering, like, dang, what did the biological mother do for John Fuda to have the sole custody? Because that is so interesting when the man has the sole custody of his kid. And while I can understand Rachel, and she gives like good mother vibes, like she take care of Gigi, she take care of her kids, like you see her take care of her kids and do over the top for her kids. But I was a little bit uncomfortable because she is legit, even though it's true, she is putting down Jaden's biological mother on national television. And I know in other franchises like Atlanta, we have seen like men have the talk about adopting the ladies' kids. Like, for example, Drew Sidora, who of course was not successful because they're now in divorce. And then Eva Marcel, in which her husband did completed adoption of the kid. But it's interesting now that, to see the roles reversed and now see on in a woman's perspective of her adopting her loved one's child. And I'm interested in it. But I'm like, let's not activate the biological mother and we get a real situation. Because I feel like, these girls, they come on these shows and they want to have a storyline to really talk about, like what's gonna be the drama with them. And they try to pick the drama, but sometimes in the process of picking their drama, they are actually creating real drama they don't even want to have an issue or touch to deal with. And there's a reason why the biological mother is no longer in the son's life. So let's not call her into that situation for her to feel like she needs to defend herself and have her voice heard, because you guys are talking about her, but we don't hear from her side. And you don't want it to be a situation where she comes onto the show and gives her side, and then now you have a whole drama situation. Okay, that sounds like who, Melissa and Joey, coming on the show after Teresa complaining on and on about her issues with her brother. Now her brother comes on the show to speak his side, and now you see they got into an even bigger drama. So I see Rachel as a good mom, but girl, this is TMI. This is too much information. I would walk it back. I would even consider her son Jaden. Like, I feel like maybe Jaden doesn't want the whole world to know that his mom sucks. Like, nah. So we get a scene now with Jen and Dolores going to lunch, and they have it like at a pizza place. So Mr. Paul, Dolores tells Jen that Mr. Paul likes Jen, and he was quite sad when the two were not getting along. And Jen loves to hear this. And Jen, she tells Dolores how she felt about Dolores' words were hateful towards her, and she felt like even though Dolores said what she said, she felt like she should have talked to Dolores to get out, to let her know that this was bothering her. So these two, they want to make it up. They want to make up and move on and forward. And I see that. I feel like they're friends. Dolores feels like Jen should have shared, what was going on in her personal life to her, because Dolores says that she would have definitely acted differently. And I believe that with Dolores, because Dolores is the type of girl that I can see as having a friend, because she's real. Like, I don't take Dolores as a manipulative type. I feel like she's very caring if you're real and honest with her. And the issue is that Jen wasn't being completely transparent with Dolores. So Dolores, of course, couldn't take her side or help defend for the girls to understand Jen. So I can see that. So I feel like Dolores, she's fair. Jen sometimes want people to blindly defend her, and Dolores is not going to give you that. So with Dolores, giving the olive branch, and Jen giving the olive branch too, and they're both accepting and wanting to move forward, I'm good with that. I'm actually very happy about that. So Jen, she talks about her issues with her marriage, and she wants Bill to spend more time with the family and participate in raising kids. And she's tired of catering to Bill, and Dolores, she understands her completely. I felt like when Jen was going through her situation with the affair coming out, Dolores would have been the best person to have as an ally, because she's so understanding of that situation. And she kind of left Jen to fend for herself, because Jen, she was going after and digging up dirt on the other girls. So Dolores is fair. She's like, don't throw rocks when you got a glass house. So I can understand Dolores. I don't think Dolores is the bad friend. But Dolores feels like, she wants their marriage to work, Bill's and Jen's marriage to work, because, she feels like there's a lot of love there. And even so, in her confessional, she admitted that they seem to have more love than what her and Frank did. So I wonder what Frank feels about that. Like, ooh. I feel like this was a shot to Frank, but we'll see in the reunion what Frank got to say if they ask him a comment about this scene per se. So we segue over to Jen saying, the girls have been fighting a lot, and she kind of wants to end the drama. So she wants to have a Turkish coffee reading, but since she knows that the girls and her have bad history, Dolores offers Polly's home for the girls. And this is exciting to me, because the girls are gonna want to tour the home to see what Polly's palace gives. And I'm here for it too. I'm ready to see it. I want to see more, a proper tour. In my head, I feel like Jennifer is gonna be the one to be like, oh, I want to see what's going on. I feel like Melissa would want to see it. Margaret want to see it. Jackie got to see it too. Jackie, she's a little shady, and she likes a little camera moment. So I think what better way is when you see someone's home for the first time. So I'm excited to see Mr. Pauly's palace. So over at Melissa's home that's under construction, we see that Melissa cannot drive. Poor thing. I'm like, it's funny too, because her daughter was in the car with her, and they took a bad bump. She went too fast on the curb, and it wasn't leveled properly, so she hit a bad bump. And they walk through the home, and Joe's around fixing the home. And Melissa, she talks to Joe, and she brings up that she's helping Danielle with her fashion pop-up show. And that was pretty much the end of the scene. I mean, we saw Melissa's home under construction mode, and it was just, I don't know. That was it. That was that scene. So we move over to Danielle, and she's at her home, and she's having a FaceTime with Teresa. And Teresa knows it's all stuffed up, because her voice sounds very, much like that was not Teresa's voice. So she was actually really sick. So, okay, she's obviously planning not to show up to something. So I'm listening to the phone call. I'm I don't want to catch what she got, because it sounded really rough. So Teresa shares about the fight at the Shore House, and we learn from following that fight after Melissa and Joe left, that Luis was crying about the situation. And then we get a jump scene, and then Melissa is telling Joe that Margaret told her that when they left, Louis was sobbing when they left the shore party. So Joe, he feels like Louis. Why I'm tripping over his name? His name is Louis Lewis. His name is Louis. Joe feels that Louis is two-faced, and he brings up how social media talked about Louis having an issue with Dina's husband, and now Dina does not have an invite to Teresa's wedding. So we learned that. I didn't know that information, but I miss Dina. I didn't mind Dina. Dina should come back to the show. So back to Danielle and Teresa. Danielle tells Teresa to rest. And pretty much she learns that she's not going to make it to the coffee reading. So Teresa's not coming to this party. I'm a little bit disappointed in that because I feel like we really get the tea about the housewives when the sidekicks and the coffee spilling is involved. So I was a little bit sad about that. So Danielle tells Teresa about how Rachel ran. She ran, girl. Rachel ran and told Margaret what she said. And I'm like, Danielle, you telling Teresa and you doing the same thing too. The only thing different is that the way you moved about it. But you know Teresa's going to use this as ammunition against Rachel. Like, Rachel cannot be trusted. You know, so we might get a part 2 with Teresa versus Rachel. And, you know, Rachel, she's a new girl. And you going against the head boss pretty much in confrontation. So we'll see. So we over at Polly's. And it's a whole house, y'all. It's a whole house. I thought it was a townhouse. No, it's a whole house. It's a whole house. Polly's Palace is approved by Jen, of course. This coffee cup reader is from Teresa's camp, y'all. I feel like, no, even Jen tells everyone that this coffee reader was recommended by Teresa. Therefore, she's from Teresa's camp. And moving forward, okay, the house is gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. We get more views from the house. But then when Jen Fessler, when she gets in here, she's like, ooh, it's pretty, but it's hot. But it's hot. She's like, this home feels like 50 Shades of Gray. So they go up to the top of the house, and the rooftop is giving rooftop vibes in Miami. Like, I felt like we were getting good views. I felt like, oh my God, I can imagine at night. Dolores should have hosted at night to really get advantage of the lit up situation of it all. But Melissa, she shades Dolores by saying, why is this party... Now, before that, all the girls let Dolores know that she hit the jackpot. But, you know, Melissa, she wants to be shady. And she says, why Dolores and Jen are doing this party together? When did that happen? And Marge, she also feels like, she says it in the confessional, she feels like Dolores is just doing this to not deal with Jen. And then she also said that no one really likes Jen. And I thought that was so mean. I'm like, Margaret, you're really becoming the villain. Like, you're really becoming the villain of this episode, of this season, of this franchise. Girl, what are you doing? I like when Margaret came with her pigtails. I feel like this Margaret. So Jen says, "Where's Danielle?" And Marge says, "Oh, where's Bouge?" And I'm like, of course, this is when Danielle is going to arrive. She's knocking on the door. She comes in, and you know they are talking about Danielle, and you know only Jen is sticking up for her. I feel like, dang. She's new. Danielle is new. Why y'all already got the smoke for Danielle? So when she walks in, she says hi to everyone. Dolores and Jen, they share some news about Teresa to the girls. And they let everyone know that Teresa called and she's sick, so she wouldn't be making to this party. So, and they talk about how Teresa was meditating and had a vision to ask and to include Dolores and Jen to be bridesmaid at her wedding. And Melissa's face is like, huh? And then everyone looks at Melissa, like trying to get a feel what Melissa's gonna say, what she's gonna do, how she's gonna feel. And Melissa is like, Dolores, you weren't even at the engagement party. But Dolores doesn't care. Who cares? If you got an invite to a wedding, do you really care? No. No. You want to go to a wedding that they're going to spend. They don't have like a budget, but they're going to spend. So, Dolores, she does not care at all. And she doesn't even care when Melissa tried to make it seem like, oh, don't you think that, since Dina got uninvited to the wedding that you got the invite? And Melissa thought that was super interesting and super convenient. It could be, but who cares? It's her wedding. She can invite who she want to invite. That's not our business, okay? If y'all want to use this as a fighting point for when you argue, okay. But at this point, the lady is grown. If she wants to invite so-and-so to the wedding, so-and-so can come. Okay? So the girls, they were eating, and the food, I thought the food looked fine, but I felt there was an overwhelming amount of flowers. Like everywhere there was flowers. There was flowers off to the side, flowers on the table. I'm like, I want to see the abundance of food, not some flowers. So Jen Fester, she is sweating in this house. And I'm like, this man do not have AC? Does this man do not have AC in his house? All these people in the house and there's no AC? Oh. But anywho, Dolores, she invites all the girls to Ireland for a bachelorette party. And I'm like, yes, this is better than when they went to Tennessee for a girls trip. That was not a trip. That was not a trip at all. So I'm happy the girls are going international. We going to Ireland. I mean, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, they already did the Ireland trip. But I want to see Ireland in the viewpoint of these Jersey girls, okay? And with Dolores, I know with that poly budget, it's going to look real nice. Real nice. So now it's time for the readings. First person up first, Dolores. And for Dolores, the psychic saw a ring on her finger. And you could see a scene caught like of Polly looking out. Like, I don't know if it's truly a scene of him looking out at the situation of it all. But Frank gonna have to deal with Mr. Paul for even longer than he thought. Ooh. Next we have Rachel. And the reader, she saw a big V representing victory. And it's something significant that will happen in either 3 years, 3 months, but it's in threes. And Rachel, she shares with the girls that she's in the process of adoption of her son. And you could see how Margaret, she relates to her and feel that she's very similar to her. So I see, what a better way to form these two alliance. Oh gosh. So for Margaret's turn, the reader says there's something about a close friend that starts with the letter L that is stabbing her back. And y'all, don't forget, this psychic is from Teresa's camp, and this party is being hosted by Jen. So of course, all the girls are looking at Jen so suspicious. They're like, really, Jen? And I don't like that. I like when they have readers, who do the reading, and I like to get the real tea. I didn't like this reading per se because we kind of had, some smoke about this. You remember Margaret's ex-best friend Laura are no longer friends, and apparently she was trying to spread some tea on Margaret. But I don't want to hear that. I would have asked the reader for something else. I want to hear something else about Margaret. Let me find out something else about Margaret. So next is Jen. And Jen, she asked about pretty much her marriage. She wants to know what's going on with that from the reader. And the reader says that her husband loves her a lot, and that she spends a lot of time with family, and that endorsements are coming for her, but she turns them down for the sake of family. So remember, In the previous episode where they were fighting at Jen Fessler's home, they used the word as endorsements. Like, Jen, you got no endorsements, but then you have the reader using the term endorsements. So the girls are not buying it. The girls are like, what the hell? The only endorsement that Jen is getting, Margaret says that she's getting charming because she's full of okay. So I thought that was hilarious. But of course, I felt like that was not a really good reading. Even if it's, accurate of the psychic, I just feel like we already knew that. Like, come on. So next is Danielle. And, the reader, she brings up that the family is close, but conflict between you and your brother. And then she said that, they're both crying about it and that one day it will get better, which is a sign of hope for Danielle. Even though she doesn't feel it to be true, she likes the thought that it being said out loud, that it could be a possibility for her. Jackie, of course, wants to have her moment, her camera time, says that I hope that happens for you. And of course that activates Danielle, because Danielle is like, do y'all really want that? Because she wants the girls to drop it. And, Melissa agrees, because I can see how Melissa relates. Like, no one wants someone to go on and on about someone's family. Like, come on. But Danielle, she calls out Rachel, and now Rachel gets activated this whole episode. And I'm like, the new girls are fighting, and it's kind of sad because I was excited with these girls when they first came to the scene and they were getting along and they were like, not letting these OGs kind of force them to pick a side, and now they're like kind of picking sides, and I don't want that. So I want to hear the other ladies' readings. Like, I want to hear Jackie's reading. I want to hear the other girls' reading. And we don't get to hear anyone else's reading because, of course, these girls are fighting. And Danielle's, point is that she is not a starter and she does not want to make situations worse. So at the end of the day, she feels like Rachel is not to be trusted. So, there was no AC at Polly's house, so everyone was starting to get too hot. And it was the end of the party. Dolores kicked everyone out. She said, get out her man's house. And I felt like, Dolores, you really won. You really won. Because even though Polly's Palace don't have AC, I wouldn't mind staying in that house. Oh, no. I would not mind at all. So I'm excited for next week's episode because they're going to Ireland. So I want to see what Ireland is going to give these Jersey girls. And I'm super excited. So if you enjoy this recap and you look forward for the next recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me what you think of this episode. I thought it was pretty fun. I really enjoyed it. Am I overseeing Polly's Palace? I think so. I think this was the final hurrah moment for Polly's Palace. So now we're gonna move off and head international. So see you guys next week, and stay tuned. This week I also have other recaps coming up for other episodes. So see you guys later, and don't forget, spread as much kindness as possible. Bye guys.